Can y'all hear me now on this computer? Amazing. We'll just use a different computer. Great. Awesome. So sorry, guys. This is the fun of every competition. You find stuff out. I'm really excited to see everyone, like this list of people that are attending. Amazing. So let's just go ahead and get started. So this OLS learning session is brought to you by the U.S. Brewers Cup Committee. The U.S. Brewers Cup Committee is a subcommittee of the U.S. Competitions Committee made up of volunteers who train and certify the U.S. Brewers Cup judging pool and ensure adherence, advancement, and execution of the competition's rules and regulations. Committee members must be members of the Barista Guild, Coffee Roasters Guild, Coffee Technician Guild, or SCA members and/or maybe judges, head judges, former competitors, or volunteers. Our mission is to provide coffee professionals opportunities to innovate, educate, and promote best practices via coffee competitions. Our objectives are the U.S. Brewers Cup Committee exists to uphold, develop, and enforce the competition and its rules and regulations, support and encourage competitors, judges, and volunteers, promote and raise the standard of excellence in specialty coffee. So thanks for coming here. We've been working really hard on bringing this to you. Sorry for the delay. If y'all have any questions, just put them in the chat box, and then we'll try to answer them before the end. And we can cover any more questions y'all might have that come up after the PowerPoint. So we have our code of conduct. The code of conduct applies to all spaces, both physical and digital, including but not limited to hosted events, activities, webinars, online communities, and the U.S. chapter of the Specialty Coffee Association, U.S. chapter or U.S. chapter social media accounts. All people who attend or interact with the U.S. chapter spaces, including but not limited to attendees, speakers, sponsors, hosts, volunteers, competitors, and coaches, are required to agree with the following code of conduct. Organizers will enforce this code throughout the events and activities. We expect cooperation from all participants to help ensure a safe environment for everyone. Organizers, attendees, and participants alike agree to abide by the national, local, and laws with the jurisdiction of any space and event taking place, and take full responsibility for any violations and report them to the appropriate organizer's office immediately. Every person taking part in a U.S. chapter event or U.S. chapter sanctioned event is expected to show the utmost respect for everyone. We will not allow for any kind of discriminatory behavior, harassment, or victimization. By attending this and the qualifying event, you agreed to abide by the SCA and U.S. chapter code of conduct. Just want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. GH Grinding Solutions will be providing the Bentwood Vertical 63. We have our hot water tower from Bunn, and we have water from Third Wave Water. It will be the classic profile. Yay to all of our sponsors. And please recognize them and tag them in all your posts as much as you can. We cannot have competitions without our lovely sponsors. Sorry, guys, my computer skipped a few. You can find all the rules, score sheets, event details, and a copy of this PowerPoint and recording of this session on the US Coffee Champs website. Our one qualifying event will be at the Maryland AMP Strathmore over at this address. Key thing this year is our event. Everyone will be coming in on Thursday, and the event will be Friday and Saturday. We will have access to the building from 8 a.m. till 5:30. So now we're going to just take a moment to talk about some of the details and cover the logistics of the weekend so everyone understands the flow of the day and on-site expectations. So Thursday will be our first day. Judges calibration will be from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Competitor load-in will be from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and our competitor meeting will be at 4 p.m. The competitor meeting is mandatory. The award ceremony and competitor debrief will be on Sunday afternoon when latte art competition concludes. You're encouraged to stick around for this, check out the other competitions, and explore the great coffee scene in the DMV area. We will try to send y'all a list of things that y'all can do on that Sunday before the award ceremony. So above, we have an example of what a competitor's schedule looks like. You'll see you'll get one schedule for open service and another schedule for compulsory. General rules for arriving and being backstage. You need to be 60 minutes early before any event scheduled on here. One thing is that practice time will start at 8:15. We won't be able to get there until 8. So 15 minutes early is perfect for that one, but everything else and anyone later in the day, try to be there at least an hour before you're scheduled. Some general rules for backstage: all electrical in the competitor practice area is shared and it's used at the discretion of the stage manager. This means depending on what our plugins are available, grinders are always priority for the backstage area. And then the person going next on stage has priority over anyone else to those plugins. Never plug in equipment in undesignated spaces. This is how we get flipped breakers, and flip breakers make everyone sad. So please don't plug in stuff where you have not been told you can plug in stuff. Also, a great thing to do before you even arrive is label all of your stuff, especially common items such as fellow stag kettles, Akaya scales, origami sensory cups. Even if you don't think it's a common item, go ahead and label it. Just if it does get lost somewhere, it's a lot easier for us to get it back to the right person. And we always want to make you happy and make sure you have all your stuff. Competitors are responsible for cleaning all of their wares and cups. Runners and event staff are not responsible for breakage or loss of dishes or competitor items. So it is your responsibility to keep up with them. I promise we will help if we can, but if you label it, we can find you a lot faster. So expectations and best practices. Updates will be sent email. Please check ahead and throughout the competition weekend. Please, 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 please pay attention to your emails. Any last minute updates will be sent via email. Please read the rules thoroughly prior to arrival. Maybe read them 3 times, never hurts. Bring water and snacks. We don't want you dehydrated or hungry. We want you nice and happy and ready to move throughout the day. Respect the venue, volunteers, and of course one another. This event is all about respect for each other and our roles. Be prepared for your time commitments. That means judges, be prepared to come judges workshop and morning calibration. Competitors, know what time you can load in, what time is practice, and competition times. And as always, be prepared to be flexible. We will do our best to stick to the schedule, but we will communicate anything that needs to change. So just be ready, just in case. And most of all, have fun. This is an event for you to grow your community and make new friends. So don't forget to actually talk to each other and have fun. It's kind of a fun thing to do. Knowledge of the rules is expected for both judges and competitors. Everyone involved, we just need to know the rules. So this PowerPoint and presentations for the U.S. Brewers Cup qualifier is this qualifier in Maryland is the only qualifying event for a Brewers Cup in the 2024 season. The 20 top scoring competitors will advance to the U.S. Brewers Cup National Championship at a location TBD in early March. The winner of the U.S. Brewers Cup will represent the United States at the World's Brewer Cup Championship, which will coincide with the Specialty Coffee Association Expo, April 11th through 14th in Chicago. So here you'll notice a slide directly from the rules. This is to remind you to please, please, please read them. They outline detail in the competition, what to expect, and what the judges are evaluating, and essentially how to do well in Brewers Cup. To summarize, competitors must brew and serve 3 individual brews for 3 sensory judges, 1 brew per judge. Think of it like the judges being customers at a coffee bar. You would serve each customer a distinct individual cup. We'll go over each of the rounds today, but do yourself a favor, brew yourself a cup of coffee and take the time to read them. There are changes since the 2023 season, and we will also outline those changes. The details are important. If you've competed before, I can guarantee you there are new rules to learn. So let's talk about open service. During open service, competitors will prepare 3 individual brews for 3 sensory judges, 1 of which is non-scoring. A head judge will evaluate competitors' overall workflow and technical uniformity. A shadow judge or head judge in training may also be present on stage. Competitors should present coffees of their choice, so according to the rules, with an accompanying presentation that enhances the taste experience of the coffees and relates to exemplary service and a real-world specialty coffee experience. Their presentation will be evaluated based on how well the taste experience matches the competitor's description, and a barista evaluation consisting of presentation, attention to details, and coffee knowledge. Presentations may be creative, informative, and entertaining, but should always be focused on enhancing the judge's coffee experience. Once the beverage is decanted and finally served to the judges for taste evaluation, the competitor may no longer interact with the beverage or cup. Full standards and definitions are outlined in the rules, but we are going to highlight a few things right now. So for your open service competition, you will have 5 minutes setup time and 10 minutes competition time. Competitors before this will have designated practice time on stage. The event and stage managers will provide details of the practice time as well as competition schedule. Please keep up with your email. And again, keep an eye on your email. After your 10 minutes performance time, you will also have 5 minutes to cleanups time. On stage, there will be a spit cup, a water cup, and a service vessel for each judge, as well as 3 cups and spoon for the head judge. These are set up according to the head judge's specifications by the stage manager or stage runner. So competitors, just be aware that when you come to the table for your open service time, there will be cups on the table that are for the judges, and that is already going to be set up to their specifications. So just so it doesn't scare you when you look at the table, there's a bunch of stuff already there. Some technical reminders: must use sponsor grinder on stage. You can have your own grinder. It is off stage in that backstage area, and that's why we have plugins dedicated for the grinders. You have a limit to 2 electrical items. This includes kettles, beam heaters, anything. If you need to plug it in, you can only have 2 of them. May use your own water, but must notify stage event manager if doing so. Provided water will be available both at room temperature and heated between 96 to 98.5 degrees Celsius. And music, yes, you can have music, and we will send links on where you can drop those in later. So, important rule highlight. Water evaluation: cold and hot water will be evaluated before the start of the open service performance. Please notify stage manager ahead of competition time if you're going to use your own water, and then also let us know if you are planning to use the standardized service vessel that we can provide. Reminder on personal vessels, judges will take served coffees into the deliberation rooms. So once the judges walk off stage, they are going to take your cups with them. I promise we will get you back your cups before the end of the competition. That's also an important reason why you need to label all your cups so we know where to take them. Also, a note on the cold and hot water. You will be, after you pour out the hot water, we will give you time to like refill your kettle and heat it up. So don't worry if you're worried about the amount of water in your kettle. Another important rule highlight, 5.3b, for the purpose of this competition, no additives of any kind may be added to the coffee after it reaches the green coffee stage. So this is an important difference. Previously, there could be no additives at any phase of processing coffee. Now, additives during the processing phase of coffee are allowed, including fruit co-ferment, yeast inoculation, etc. What is not permitted are infusions or substances added to the coffee after the green processing stage, such as flavored coffees are not permitted. Big change. Another important rule highlight, as always, we like to remind you that competitors must serve between 120 milliliters and 375 milliliters in each sensory judge's cup. The competitor is to serve the beverages to the judges by placing them on the judge's table, one directly in front of each judge. Competitors must actively place each beverage in front of a judge in order for it to be deemed served. If a competitor fails to serve a judge directly, or if beverages are not served within the competition time, the cup in question will receive a total score of 0. A competitor may serve a carafe alongside a service vessel, but you need to pour at least 120 milliliters of the coffee into this final service vessel for it to be considered served. So put at least 120 milliliters in front of each of the individual judges, and you should be good. And this is a little meme. So 3 individual brews for sensory judge on a tray in the center table. No, because what does that mean? What's in the center of the table? What you need to do is put those directly in front of each sensory judge. Make it very obvious whose coffee is whose. So practice time. Practice time is limited to 20 minutes. You must have your station cleaned and ready for the next competitor before the end of your 20 minutes. You will be given bus tubs to move your wares before your practice time begins. You cannot set up on your station until practice time begins. If the competitor leaves early before you, you must wait until your scheduled time to start practice. So this is a way for us to guarantee that everyone has 20 minutes and no one has more than 20 minutes. You cannot start earlier than your scheduled time. Practice time is also your time. It starts at the scheduled time and ends at the scheduled time. If you are late or miss your practice time, you will not be given that time back. So if you are in traffic and miss your practice time, I'm so sorry, but you lost your practice time. And that's why we always ask you to be an hour early, just so we don't have to take anything away. So cart to stage, for anyone who's a new competitor, competitors must arrive 60 minutes prior to scheduled preparation time and check in with hosts. Any competitors not on site at start of their competition time will be DQ'd. Cart to stage is used to reference the time in which we will begin to move towards the stage to start your performance. This also may be referred to as the ready to roll time. We have 10 minutes for cart to stage before the beginning of setup. This 10 minutes will include travel time from your backstage preparation area and a quick orientation where we cover time cues, electrical checks, and music. This is also when you'll get mic'd up. We will have a waiter's cart or bus tubs available for the competitor to transport the items to and from the competition area. Prior to the competitor's preparation time, they will load the cart or bus tubs with supplies and glassware needed for the competition. The head runner or stage manager will assist the competitor as they wheel the waiter's cart or bus tubs from the preparation area to their assigned station. Only the head runner or stage manager will be allowed to assist the competitor on stage. So just a reminder, cart to stage, your coaches can help you put stuff on there, but once we are moving towards the stage, it's just stage manager and competitor. So, big show, competition time. So standards and definitions are found in the 2024 US Brewers Cup qualifying rules as linked online. Competitor has 10 minutes. Just a reminder, time starts when competitor says time and stops when competitor says time. Half points will be deducted from the competitor's total score for every 1 second over 10 minutes, with a maximum penalty of 30 points. Any competitor whose preparation or performance time exceeds 11 minutes will be disqualified. Okay, now finally, compulsory service, what we're all here for. Just like open service without the presentation component, competitors will be given 350 grams of coffee, the specs which are outlined in the rules and regs. Competitors must brew and serve 3 judges individual brews of the provided coffee. A head judge may be present to aid collaboration of sensory panel. You must use our sponsor grinder, you must use sponsor water, and you are limited to 2 electrical items, kettle, beam heaters, etc., just like on open service. Practice and competition is on a closed stage. Competitors are not allowed to have assistance from coaches, helpers, or any other individuals during compulsory service, practice, and competition. For compulsory, you'll have practice time 38 minutes and then competition time 7 minutes. These times will flow into each other to reduce contact time and need for sanitizing. The timekeeper will signal when the practice time is ending. Competitors should be prepared to start their competition time at the end of their practice time. Coffee that will be served to the judges must be brewed in the 7 minutes performance time. If you accidentally start brewing that coffee before competition time, you cannot serve it. Coffee is considered served when it's placed on the tray. When the 3rd beverage is served and competitor calls time, competition times ends. Beverages must be on the tray. After 7 minutes, time penalties will begin, half point per second up to 8 minutes. Maximum penalty 30 points. Coffee served after 8 minutes will result in a disqualification. And yet again, just a reminder, you have to use sponsor grinder for compulsory, you have to use sponsor water, you have to use the coffee we give you. And then at the end of the competition, any coffee beans you have left over, you have to hand back to the stage manager. And that also includes brewed coffee, you have to discard it. And just a reminder, you'll get 350 gram bags of whole bean coffee. The outlines of what this coffee will be like are in the rules. Competitors must serve at least 120 milliliters. If a beverage is found to be less than 120, that particular beverage will be disqualified and have no score. So just a reminder, fill your cups. When in doubt, fill those cups. No one has ever got DQ'd because they filled a cup. Important rule highlight, competition time ends when the competitor serves the 3rd and final beverage on the designated serving tray and the competitor raises their hand and calls time. This is different from previous years where your time would be when the 3rd cup hit the tray and we would just default to that as your competition time. Now you have to raise your hand and call time at the end, which we have been asking you to do, but now it's in a rule. So you have to tell us when you're done. And another note, like I said earlier, any unused compulsory coffee remaining at the end of the competition time must be returned to the stage manager. This includes coffee in all forms, whole bean ground coffee, and brewed coffee grounds. Failure to return any unused compulsory coffee may result in disqualification. And trust me, we number all of those coffee bags so we know if we're missing someone's. So competitor vocab time. So here are some words and phrases you may hear leading up to or on site for the preliminary event. I just want to make sure everyone has a shared understanding of how we use these words and their associated expectations within the competition. So online learning session, this is here. We are doing it right now. Competitor meeting, that's a mandatory meeting before a competition. It is so important because we relay final logistics and important announcements. Practice time is the 20 minutes the morning before your competition to use your stations. And this is your time to spend as you like. And as I said earlier, if you miss it, you cannot get that time back. Technical, that's something that happens sometimes. This is when a competitor asks for a timeout because of an issue with provided equipment. Notice how I underlined that. Competitors may call for a technical timeout for the following reasons: the electrical power supply to the provided grinder or brew water machine, the provided grinder or brew water machine, or if there's a problem with the audio visual equipment, i.e. the competitor's microphone. So technicals can only be called if it's equipment that the stage manager gives you or that you're using on stage. If you are having problems with your own equipment, that does not count as a technical, and we cannot stop time for that. But if it is something that we provided to you, we can stop time. So this is the judge vocab, and these are some words and phrases as a judge you might hear leading up to or on site for the event. I just want to make sure everyone has a shared understanding them. Yet again, online learning sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied, y'all. Online learning session, here. Judges workshop, this is mandatory for all judges to judge any USCC competition. This judge training participation in the judges workshop does not guarantee being able to judge. All judges must pass the judges workshop, which in the context of Brewers Cup means demonstrating an ability to evaluate and describe brewed coffee in rules-based way, be able to collaborate with a group, and demonstrating an understanding of the rules and regulations by accurately completing score sheets with rules-based feedback. Notice a lot of emphasis on rules-based. Calibration takes place each morning before performance time. The calibration exercise is for priming the palate and practicing using the score sheets. Judges may confer during this period and ask questions at this time. Debrief is the time allotted after competition for competitors to receive score sheets and talk to their judges. And then a conflict is competitors you cannot judge, such as coworkers. In this next slide, we are going to talk about conflict. This is not a change, but expanded for clarity. USBRC judges may not coach or judge at the same USBRC event. If a registered judge has coached or provided feedback to any competitor in any capacity, either as a primary coach, support coach, or consultant, they must declare that conflict of interest prior to the event and during calibration. Failure to disclose conflict of interest may result in the disqualification of the competitor. Once the competition event has begun or judges have started their calibration, whichever is earlier, no communication or consultation in any form can take place between judges and competitors for the duration of that competition. Failure to comply during the event will result in disqualification of the competitor and the removal of judge from the judging competition. And note integrity. Just in general, conflict is more about if you gave feedback or coach someone prior to competition, or if you're a coworker, in coffee, a lot of us know each other. If we just kind of know each other, that's not really a conflict. But if you're ever questioning it, don't hesitate to talk to a head judge and they can help clarify.
Can I jump in here for a second, Alyssa?
Oh yeah,
I
your
can,
audio is working now. Awesome.
well, not really, but I'm using a phone, so
Yes.
basically that is not a rule change. That's a clarification on it. We know in coffee, we all know each other. We're all friends. We're friendly with one another. If you've been a part of US Coffee Championships for a while, you know all of your judges, you tend to know your fellow competitors. It definitely is a community. This is just making it clear that the integrity of these competitions are important. And then by making this clear that if you're coaching and judging at the same event, your communication and consultation with said competitor must stop at the judge's workshop. It's tricky. I saw the registration list. We have a lot of cross judges with cross competitors. Let's just honor integrity, y'all. Let's just do things right. That's all I ask. Judge guidelines. Cool. Most of you who signed up to judge have judged before, if not with Brewers Cup. Here in the US, you've judged in another country or you've judged another competition with the US. Basically, our guidelines for judges are that you cup regularly, that you have a firm understanding of the rules. We provide the training and everything you know and everything you need to know in order to be a scoring judge, but you must pass the judge's workshop. What does it mean to pass the judge's workshop? It means that you demonstrate that you have an understanding of the rules, that you're able to cup, evaluate, and score coffee in a timely manner. It means that you have legible writing and you're filling out a score sheet legibly. And on site, it shows that you're evaluating and scoring fairly according to the rules without bias and prejudice. As a judge, you must demonstrate support by being responsive and engaged, by showing respect toward the competitor and their cultural background, and you must record competitor-given details and write objective, respectful, rules-based comments to the competitor on score sheets. And of course, what it means to pass the workshop, it means that you have a willingness to calibrate with your fellow judges. This is not a place for your ego, y'all. Our goals for the judges are to support the barista profession, to promote specialty coffee and coffee excellence in the cup, and of course, to be neutral, fair, and consistent while evaluating, and to select a worthy and highly professional Brewers Cup champion. Competitors, you're going to want to stick around for this part because we're going to discuss some new scoring rubrics, categories, and score sheets. So, what are judges looking for in a Brewers Cup champion? We're looking for a brewer who prepares brewed coffee beverages of exemplary quality, delivers outstanding customer service, can articulate the taste experience offered by their brew coffee beverages, and delivers an overall exceptional coffee service experience. This is a visual of the new score sheets. These should be posted online any day now. If you want to, you can use the 2024 world score sheets as a reference point. They will be the same. You'll see that instead of, if you weren't around for prelims or you've taken a couple years off of Brewers Cup, maybe, I don't know, let's say 10 years, you'll see that this looks a lot different than you remember it. So basically the biggest difference is that the coffee evaluation, that is still, yes, that's happening. It is based on a different scale, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But the biggest difference here is that rather than that taste description and that customer service box on the bottom, that has been broken up. So every sensory category that's evaluated will also be evaluated on the accuracy of the brewer's description of it. And instead of it just being customer service, the barista evaluation is now broken up into attention to details, coffee knowledge, and presentation. In terms of one more note on that, compulsory, it is the same, except it's just the sensory evaluation. No customer service, no barista evaluation, and no taste description, because there's no presentation in compulsory. Maybe in your head, but no one's hearing it but yourself. I will link all those score sheets momentarily, but for now you can go to worldbrewerscup.org and you should be able to find them there. Cup score. So you're still going to see familiar numbers here, 0 to 9, just like the old sensory evaluation. Half points are not permissible though. A score of 0 indicates that nothing was available to score in this category, meaning the coffee wasn't served to the judge to evaluate. Scores of 0 to 3 require the approval of the head judge. This scale is modeled after Specialty Coffee Association's new coffee of value assessment system. All competitors and judges are encouraged to read more about this. Next slide. There is a ton of resources on it. It's going to be at this link that's going to come up on the next one, but it demonstrates basically the different categories and what these qualities mean. Dig into it. This is the scale that we're using. Thank you, Sarah Rice, for linking that. Next slide. So let's talk about cup score first. So again, very similar, but just slightly different. And if you haven't competed in a bit, if you skipped prelims, how these categories are described are also different. So please get familiar in the rules. Aroma is the coffee's aromatic character to be evaluated immediately. The aroma score component will be evaluated as the coffee is served and from the cup the beverage is finally served in, unless the competitor gives specific instructions during open service. Competitors may override the protocol and provide a service vessel to evaluate the aroma, but they will need to give instructions before and decant the beverage into the final cup within competition time. This means, yes, your judges can smell or evaluate aroma from the decanter, but you must instruct them to do that. If you don't give instruction, they will evaluate the aroma from the final service vessel it is served in. Flavor. Flavor represents the coffee's principal. Oh, one more note on aroma. It is only taken at hot. Judges do not go back and evaluate the aroma at warm, and they don't evaluate the aroma at cool. That was a little bit of a common miss in prelim, so just want to give you all a heads up there. Flavor. Flavor represents the coffee's principal character and the mid-range notes in between the first impressions given by the coffee's first aroma and acidity to the final aftertaste. The score given for flavor should account for the intensity, quality, and complexity of the total taste experience. Aftertaste correlates to the length of positive flavor or unpositive flavor. Acidity contributes to a coffee's liveliness, sweetness, and fresh fruit character and is almost immediately experienced and evaluated when the coffee is first slurped in the mouth. Acidity that is overly intense or dominating may be unpleasant. However, excessive acidity may be or may not be appropriate to the flavor profile of the sample. Sweetness. This is a new one. If you didn't compete in prelims, you're probably like, ooh, new part of the score sheet. Sweetness is defined as the impression of a sweet taste or scent in brewed coffee. If a judge perceives a sample as sweet, they will evaluate the intensity of perceived sweetness in the brewed coffee from low to high before noting any descriptors that are especially associated with the perceived sweetness of the sample. For example, brown sugar, pleasant, overpowering, faint, low intensity. Again, digging into that link that Sarah Rice provided in the chat will be really helpful for an understanding on that. This is for both judges and competitors. Mouthfeel. It's defined as a tactile sensation of the coffee in the mouth based solely on a coffee brew's thickness and texture, not flavor. Thickness refers to the perceived weight or viscosity of the brew, for example, thin, light, heavy, while texture refers to the perceived sensation of grittiness or smoothness, for example, rough, creamy, smooth, mouth drying. Judges will first evaluate the thickness, weight, or viscosity of the brewed coffee and mark the intensity using the scale on the score sheet before noting any descriptors that are especially associated with the thickness or texture of the coffee. Brews with light or heavy mouthfeel may receive high scores relative to the quality of the tactile feeling in the mouth. However, coffees expected to be high in body can receive equally high preference scores, although their intensity rankings will be quite different. Intensity does not equate to quality. Overall, the overall scoring aspect is meant to reflect the holistically integrated rating of the sample as perceived by the individual judge. The perception of balance, or how the various aspects of flavor, aftertaste, acidity, mouthfeel, and sweetness work together, or complement or contrast to each other may factor into this score. A judge's perception of the stability of the sample or how well it holds its character over time as it cools may also factor into this score. A sample with many highly pleasant aspects but not quite measuring up would receive a lower score. An exemplary example of preferred characteristics not fully reflected in the individual attributes may receive an even higher score. This is also the steps where the judges may make their personal appraisal. So you're serving the coffee. You also have to tell us what it tastes like. This is what was the taste description box, but rather than being one general taste description, it is now broken into each sensory attribute with a scale of 0 to 3. 0 being none to evaluate. You didn't serve the coffee, or it was below the minimum volume. Not very accurate, somewhat accurate, and very accurate. We basically judges count the descriptions. If we get less than a certain amount, then it's not very accurate. If it's mostly accurate and there's only a couple misses, that would quantify as very. This is what it looks like here. Available scores range from 0 to 3. Half points are not permissible here. It's either 0, 1, 2, or 3. Judges should score as follows. A score of 0 indicates there was nothing able to score, or no descriptors were given. A score of 1 indicates that the elements in this category were incorrect or not very accurate. A score of 2 indicates that elements in this category were somewhat accurate, and a score of 3 indicates they were mostly accurate. Certain scores are weighted and multiplied by 2 and 4, and a score of 0 requires the approval of the head judge. The committee is excited about these changes and are looking forward to putting them to use. Barista evaluation, AKA the old customer service, now broken up into 3 things: attention to detail, coffee knowledge, and presentation. If you competed in prelims, you might even notice that this has even been updated again beyond explanation and preparation. We're going to go over each of the individual bits now. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like. You'll see that attention to details has that 0 to 3 score. Coffee knowledge and presentation has that 0 to 6 score. This is more similar to how barista scores, but it also allows us to be very specific about the things that we're evaluating the presentation and our customer service on. This is in the barista evaluation section and it is relative to the impression of attention to details. What does this mean? It means that we're looking for all accessories should be readily available, clean and unbroken, and the working area should be well and purposely organized. Judges will consider hygiene, for example, how a competitor cleans spills, handles equipment, serves beverages, as well as functional, clean, and unbroken cups. If you're around for the tumbler era, you probably remembered a few centered on not having your fingers on the rims of your lattes. Let's get back to that era. Keep those fingers off the rims, folks. That's not hygienic. A score of 1 indicates that elements in this category made a low or average impression. A score of 2 indicates that elements made a good or mixed impression. And a score of 3 means that they made a high impression. Again, attention to details, hygiene, use of space. Are you serving a cup with gerbils all over it? Is there a fuzzy on the rim? Do you have a Band-Aid on your finger as you're serving? Are you wiping the sweat off of your brow because you're nervous? And that's okay, but maybe just keep a little tissue nearby for that. Next, please. Coffee knowledge. Half points are permissible in this one. Professionalism is evaluated by the observed qualities relevant to the barista profession, including technique, preparation, and demonstrating a wider understanding of coffee and coffee brewing. To achieve a high score in this category, the explanation should include factual points and the resulting sensory experience, meaning the information that you give is related to the cup that you serve. Yes, you may have jewelry on your hands. Judges will look for a strong correlation between what is explained and what is delivered. And I'm seeing this other question here. Clarification from prelims, is the standard now to aspirate the coffee directly from the cup without the spoon unless specified? Judges can choose as long as they are consistent. No changes there. Barista evaluation presentation. Competitors will not be expected to craft complex or fine dining experiences, and the presentation should relate to a real world coffee service experience. Judges will consider the following, and of course, while allowing for personality and cultural differences, the skills such as natural, clear, and concise communication, as well as the ability to manage workflow and timing. The competitor should demonstrate being an ambassador of coffee. Presentations that positively and creatively enhance the coffee experience beyond the cup served will score high. Strong customer service skills such as politeness, accuracy, attentiveness, and good hygiene will also be taken into consideration. Some frequently asked questions before we dig into the Q&A. Can you bring your own grinder? Yes, you may for open service, but all your grinding must be done backstage. For compulsory, no, you must use the provider grinder during your designated time. And for reference, there will be tutorials on this. We will include the links for it. Our grinder sponsor has been generous in making those resources for you, and you will also have an opportunity to see the equipment ahead of time. That's also part of the competitor meeting. Can you bring your own water? You sure can for open service. The head judge will need a sample of your water to ensure it's free of additives. For compulsory service, no, you are not able to use your own water. You must use the provided water. And remember, the provided water will be third wave water, classic profile, samples of your brewing water, if you choose to use your own for open service, must be put into the cups provided on the stage. Your head judge will need a hot sample and a room temperature sample. So if you are using your own water, be sure to give your stage manager and or the lead volunteer that's designated a heads up about it so they can prepare for that. Can you play your own music? Yes, you can. You can provide a Spotify or Apple Music playlist in the forthcoming competitor form. I dropped it there. This will all be in a follow-up email. Please get those in as soon as possible. When in doubt, you can email communications.uscc@gmail.com. Please note this is different than the US competitions at sca.coffee. There was a lot of folks getting error messages from that, so we created a new one just to make sure that that doesn't happen. You can also reach out to, you can respond to some of the emails that we send directly, and we will get you your answer as soon as possible. Next steps, keep your eye on your inbox. Things that will be coming, a recording to this online learning session. Thank you again for your patience with the audio. I know this also happened in prelims, and I'm really sorry for that. Your competitor music submission form and your competitor and judges information form. Please complete these as soon as possible when received. They do help inform scheduling, and they help us get the schedule out faster. So the faster you fill out those forms, the faster you're able to get your schedule. I will drop all those in the chat momentarily, but just a heads up. You got to look for your email, folks. Questions? Can you, I see one that says, can you define additives? Do you mean for the coffee? Can you explain that a little bit more, Jacob? Feel free also to just add for water. That would be, I'm going to refer to the rules there just to see, there's a little section that explains it. Here, let me drop the link to the rules. In terms of water that's available, room temperature water will be provided, or you can pull it from the hot water tower.
I have a question, Kendra.
Sure.
In terms of the water samples for providing water samples for the judges, warm and cold, um, is that that's not something we have to incorporate into our overall presentation. We just need to have like a carafe of it to give to a stagehand for them to do that, or we have to like set those out with our other items.
That will be ahead of your performance. You certainly do not need to spend your part of your 10 minutes as providing water. That would be prior to your setup.
Yeah, it will be in between your setup time and when we go and get the judges. So after your kettle gets to the right temperature, after your setup time, we will grab the sample from you, and then you will have time to refill your kettle after we grab the hot sample.
Okay, thank you. That was concerning briefly. Also, as far as like information in the follow-up email for music and stuff, where do we include info for accompanying coaches?
That will be on it. That's something that the chapter is handling. They're handling registration. So I will get an answer on that and include it in the follow-up email with the link. But there should be a spot on the form for coaches registration. You are permitted up to 2 coaches.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Kendra. I just have a question. Do we need to provide you our competition coffee before the open service stage?
Say that one more time.
Do we need to provide you the competition coffee that we bring to you guys before competing?
What do you mean by provide it?
Like, do we need to give you a coffee? Because I remember when I talked to my friends, they said we may have to give you guys a coffee before going up to compete. But if not, that's great. Just ask.
No,
No?
that's not
Great.
necessary.
Thank you so much.
To answer Pisa's question here, do we have to break down to hot to cool for acidity, sweetness, mouthfeel, and aftertaste? I will tell you to consider what is scored on taste description and what the judges are looking for there. If our standard evaluation is evaluating the coffee from hot to cool, answering directly can be a coaching question. So the more relevant and accurate your taste description is, the better, the higher score you get.
Just a clarifying question on 5.8 section of the rules about coffee preparation. Can the rinse water for your filter, I know it says that's not part of your brew water, but can you pre-rinse during practice? And also can you pre-weigh out like bypass water during practice time?
Yes. If it's for in general for open service and for compulsory, as long as it's not water touching your coffee for extraction, you can do whatever you need to do. So for compulsory, as long as you are not starting to brew coffee during your practice time, you can do whatever you need to do to feel good about brewing 3 cups of coffee in 7 minutes, if that makes sense. Sorry, y'all, my cat just knocked over a bunch of stuff.
Another question on the compulsory as well is at the end of your competition time, is the coffee evaluated immediately when you finish, or is it evaluated after the 7 minutes?
It's about, so what will happen is as soon as you are done, we will do our best to carry those cups to the judges. The judges are in a separate room, and it depends on how many volunteers we have, but we try our best to, as soon as you're done, we carry off those cups to the judges and they will begin evaluation.
Perfect, thank you.
Do y'all remember where we landed on liquid nitrogen?
Tyler, I am searching my inbox for exactly how we said it last year because I know it was a conversation. Give me one moment, please.
Okay, dope.
Piece to answer your question. You're talking about chilling your brewer, or what? Can you clarify a little?
I answered that.
Piece. Yeah, you can, if you want to chill your brewer, that's fine, as long as the coffee is, hot when you get it. Don't try to give me iced coffee, because I'm not having it.
And I know we should be able to have access to a fridge, whether it is in our area or if we maybe have to ask the kind people at US Latte Art to use some of their space. I know in the past we've shared refrigerated space, so there should be somewhere for refrigeration if you'll need it.
Any other questions, y'all? Now's the time.
The best competitors ask so many questions, and I love it. We love questions.
Someone asked before about audience service. We're hoping so. Right now it's a little bit of a logistics challenge. It's potential for nationals, but I don't have a firm answer on that.
I've got a question over here about defining what observed qualities are evaluated for a barista's story/journey. The rules say presentation is evaluated by observed qualities of the barista and the story journey that they bring to the performance. Sorry, my chat box keeps moving. Can you?
No, there's no entry fee for volunteers.
For the schedule, will there be a chance that you do compulsory and open service on the same day, or will those be split up? So you're always competing one day?
They will be split up. So for qualifiers, we're following what we call the old format, where every competitor has a day where they do compulsory and every competitor has a day where they do open service. The new format for Brewers Cup is a series of rounds similar to barista, where there is the round one, semifinals, and finals. Round one is all open service. Round two, or semifinals, is compulsory. The reason why we're doing compulsory and open service on Converse days for the qualifier is because it better gives our competitors support and feedback for both open service and compulsory. So they're more prepared for that step, not only at nationals, but potentially on the world stage. Yes, the US will be following that for nationals. Our nationals format will be the same format as worlds.
Mariah, so your question about carts, we should have carts for open service. If you own a cart and want to bring it, there's not a rule against that, so. But we should have carts for open service. We usually use bins for compulsory.
It's a small question, but in one section it says turbulence. Can you just define what that is?
Agitation, how those grinds are moving around without water. Are you shaking it? Are you stirring it? Does that answer it, Vanessa?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Those 3 T's.
Okay, I think I got a direct message about the breakdown in the bottom part of the score sheet with the presentation versus copy information, and maybe parsing those out a little more.
Sarah, I couldn't hear that. Can you paste the question in the chat box? If anyone has any, keep them coming. The judges question in the chat box. Will the judges table measurements be based on the measurements in the rules, and are competitors allowed to move judges cups and cupping spoons during their setup time? The table will be as close to that as possible. There are obviously every space is different, but they should be. And if they're off a little bit, it's going to be minuscule. Are competitors allowed to move judges cup and cupping spoons during their setup time? I'm going to defer to our stage manager to answer that.
Yes, you can do it during your setup time. In the rules, it says that stage managers can move things at the station for your preference. What that is talking about is like, if you have a really big piece of electrical equipment that I need to scooch over the grinder or the hot water tower to make sure you can fit it, that's what that rule is talking about. But if you want to move judges' cups, you can do that, but during your setup time. We are going to always default set it up the way head judges want us to, but be mindful that each judge needs those cups that we put down. So we can't completely take them away, but if you want to move them around during setup time, that's fine.
Are we submitting if there is potential to bringing our own gear? Is that being submitted in the follow-up form, or should that be a separate email to someone?
If you don't have to submit what all the gear you are bringing. If you are bringing something that maybe is a little outside of the usual, like 2 electric kettles and brewers, if you're bringing something larger, you could send an email that I will look at just to make sure that we can get it to the stage. But if it's just the usual, like brewers, kettles, you don't have to submit anything, and just always be mindful of whatever you're using fits the rules.
Okay, I was just thinking more specifically, like if a grinder was going to be used, a different grinder was going to be used in the open service, is that considered outside of the norm?
Oh no, you can bring that, and we just will keep it backstage.
Okay,
And you don't have to submit that you'll use it. Well, just make sure everyone who brings grinders that it is labeled.
thank you.
There's a question in the chat. Hello, can you define what observed qualities are evaluated for a barista's story journey from the rules? Presentation is evaluated by the observed qualities of the barista and the story journey that they bring to the stage during their performance. I answered so far that considers professionalism in the context of coffee brewing, such as ease of comfort of tools and recipe, An ability to articulate the brew recipe and how it relates to the cup served. This basically means the competitor demonstrates a firm understanding and background knowledge of coffee brewing, coffee processing, and they know their coffee that they are serving. Does that answer it, Andres? There's not a definitive final answer for that, but those are the things that are considered in it. Professionalism in the context of this competition has nothing to do with how someone looks. It has everything to do with how they can articulate their brew recipe and the sensory experience for the judges. Any other questions, y'all? Are y'all excited? Who's a first-time competitor? Raise your hand. There was a struggle with outlets for compulsory last year. Do we know if they will be closer to the table? It is space contingent. As soon as if we have an answer about that, I will let you know.
Also, just as a rule with compulsory, you can't unplug or replug any of the extension cords. But like if the extension cord is on the floor and you prefer to have your extension cord on the table, to me, that's not really moving anything around. So I just wanted to clarify that just for compulsory. Like as long as you don't unplug it or plug it in somewhere different, you can move it where you like.
That's also a good reason for the competitor meeting is that you're able to see the spaces. Yes. We hear you, Andres. Some of these things are unfortunately just out of our control. They're logistics of an event space. And when you're trying to set up an event in a different venue, they're going to be different everywhere.
Also, if you have some physical limitations, feel free to grab a volunteer or stage manager or whatever. Don't hurt yourself. It's not worth it.
Yeah, if there's anything that you physically can't reach, like please don't put strain on yourself. Like we are there to help. We are there to support you. We want this to be a great experience for you. And part of that includes not hurting yourself. Any other questions, y'all? If there's no more questions, then we're gonna call this one a wrap. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your patience during our audio probs. You know, technology, we're really looking forward to seeing you all, judges, competitors, friends, supporters, fans, et cetera, et cetera. Brew yourself some coffee, read the rules, keep an eye out for your inbox. You will receive the link, the recording to this, a link to this recording. You'll get that tomorrow, as well as a link to your competitor forms, your music forms, judges, competitors, all of the above. Get in those forms so we can complete the schedule as soon as possible. Another reminder too, we know that Sunday day, while there may not be a Brewers Cup competition happening, we hope that you check out the other competitions as well as some of the fabulous coffee shops in DC. And you won't be waiting until 7 p.m. for announcements because they'll all be ready. So we'll do that on time. Thank you all so much for being part of Brewers Cup. We are so excited to be back again. And see you next time. Thank you, Alyssa, for leading. Everyone give Alyssa a shout out for this updated online learning session. If you've been doing Brewers Cup a while, you'll notice that it's different. Awesome. Happy brewing and stay safe, y'all. Take care.